Hi there, I'm Ben Zolno with International Permaculture Day in conjunction with OccupyEducated.org and NewMessageMedia.com. Today I have the distinct honor of being here with Rhamis Kent. If you look him up, he's doing all sorts of amazing things around the world. First of all, he's a business person and permaculturalist at the same time. He'll get into why he feels that's an important connection to make there. His organization is agroecological natural technology solutions. I had to look up, had to read through my typo there. Um, and he works directly with PRI, Jeff Lawton, in the institute out there in Australia, and teaches permaculture design certificate courses. So, Ramis, thanks very much for joining us over here today.
Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, cool. So let's start. Tell us what kind of things that you focus on and why you're doing it, what you're learning from it.
Well, I think most of my work has been international in nature. Funnily enough, probably most of my permaculture design courses that I've taught have actually been through Jeff. They've been courses that he had at first scheduled, and then for one reason or another, he wasn't able to make it, and then he would refer those things to me. But additionally, there would be a lot of inquiries for project work or consulting work that I would be asked to help with. And I think, one of the big jobs that really indicated a need in terms of the type of consulting work that was desired was the Masdar City project in Abu Dhabi, which has been marketed as the most ambitious green development project or sustainable development project in the world. And so there's a design constraint that they've placed on that project for it to be carbon neutral and zero emissions. So there was a very large international consulting firm that had contacted Jeff to help them come up with some design solutions. I happened to be on the farm at the time that he got the call, and he had asked me to help go through at least some of the documents that were being generated. And then this call indicated that there was this really great opportunity to possibly enter into that type of market, to do large scale consulting work, large scale ecosystem restoration work, if we could just kind of get the presentation right. And this has led to a number of opportunities, all throughout the world, mostly in the Middle East, North Africa, some in East Africa, and places like Central Asia, like Afghanistan. So there's really been a need to create, I think, a very viable and credible business entity to handle this kind of work. And I think the more we're able to get access to those opportunities, our ability to expand the scope of this type of design work will hopefully manifest itself more, and then more people will be able to get involved because you can actually make a living doing this.
So tell me about the idea of making sure, well, I mean, economically, there's a few different things that some people perceive as barriers to permaculture spreading on a massive scale. And or rather, economics is a big part of it. And one is, yeah, a lack of fundings because so much money is going to industrial agriculture and short-term gain. And then the other aspect of it is people need to find out where their next buck is coming from, not where their buck is coming from in 30 years, but where it's coming from now. So can you talk a little bit about your experience with that and any kind of thought you have around that?
Yeah, well, there's it's interesting. There are a number of things occurring in the world now. There's a climate um, that is indicating that sort of business as usual, the way we've gone about doing things, especially in the way of agriculture and the like, uh, and it can't continue. I think one of the one of the best indications of that is this land grab phenomenon that we're seeing globally. Uh, Really, it's an indication of this really horrible ability to manage natural capital, which is land-based capital. Because if you knew what to do with land, if you knew how to manage landscapes, if you knew how to manage ecosystems, then why would you need to buy land that literally is on the other side of the globe, or is outside of the borders of your country? So we're seeing this happen increasingly more and more and more. And I think there's there's a management regime. There's a way of being able to take care of those needs that I think permaculture, among other design sciences, things like holistic management, things like keyline design, regenerative agriculture, they're these types of management regimes that need to be brought into the marketplace of ideas, if you will. And I think that is one of the ways in which we can broaden the appeal of these ideas, these concepts, is that as a business pursuit and as a way of managing our most valuable assets, which are our ecosystems, the things which are responsible for us being able to survive, the things which provide an economic base for us. These are ways in which we can much more efficiently and effectively manage those assets in ways that don't harm them, but actually can help to make them stronger and make them more productive and make them more beneficial. Not only in the way of production, but also their functional worth, because we know that ecosystems help to do things like moderate the effects of extreme weather. They do things like they cycle nutrients. They help to regulate the water cycle. All of these important functions that we find that intact, healthy ecosystems perform for us. So I think there really is an opportunity for anyone that's participating in this type of work to engage any and every aspect of that type of design work. I mean, really, it's like natural resource management or land use management. We can address all of those issues using these means. And so my goal has been to, and I told Jeff this when I left the farm back in 2009. I said my goal is to create an industry to where this is a way for people to be able to find really great work, really worthwhile work that addresses the most pressing problems that we find facing us today globally.
Yeah, and I know that you're going to like triple bottom line events and non-profit things and talking to a lot of major players that have this kind of money and kind of challenging them to tell you how a viable business model can be made with um, with using up all of your capital to make a profit. I mean, how long is that going to last? So I really appreciate that perspective. What now? Getting to the smaller scale, when it comes to people need to paying their next dollar. That's wherever you go. I mean, and you're traveling all over the world to do this kind of thing, mostly in the Middle East and in African nations. Is that correct? Is that the correct understanding that I
Yeah, I
have?
mean,
And in
I've,
Australia too, but
yeah, I mean, the Australia trip was for training and the like. But I've in the past year, probably in the last 10 or 12 months, I've been to Greece, a couple of places in North Africa, Ethiopia, Yemen,
so you
Jordan.
so you've got a wide cultural map to navigate there. Tell me what it's going to take in terms of uh, understanding cultures and the differences in order to be able to do this rather than forcing maybe an Australian model or a Western model or a Northern California model, getting it outside the quote Permi culture.
Well, I think I think in kind of talking about the ethics that define permaculture, earth care, people care, fair share. I think there's a portion of the people care aspect of it that I think sometimes gets botched. And I think this is one of the reasons why it hasn't had the type of impact that I believe it really needs to have, or that it could have, and that it should have. Where I think that there's some cultural sensibilities that need to be taken into consideration whenever you go to places like this. Or it doesn't even have to be outside of the country. It can be in a place, within the U.S. And we talked about this earlier. You can take a place like Detroit, which I had a chance to visit and teach a course in Detroit in April of 2010. Detroit is a 85 to 90% African American city. Um, it has, if you look at pretty much all of the social indicators, it's a really difficult place to operate. I mean, it's really experiencing a lot of trouble since a lot of the industry that had traditionally been in Detroit, since it's all left or it's no longer viable. I mean, you have roughly more than 1/3 of the city that lives below the poverty line, which is the highest in the U.S. Same thing with unemployment, violent crime, all the rest of it. I mean, these are all indications that economically, folks aren't really making it. Well, unless you can speak to those problems and you can address those people, um, then I don't think you're really speaking to what permaculture was conceptualized to address. I mean, it very clearly says in the designer's manual that it was that permaculture, the creation of permaculture, was stimulated by the need to address perceived social problems. Well, what about social problems? The social problems that are facing places like Oakland, California. You go to East and West Oakland, or you go to South Central Los Angeles, or you go to Camden, New Jersey, or you go to Philadelphia, the South Side of Chicago, or you
Or
go to all
Jordan
these
or Yemen or all these other places.
Jordan or Yemen or Somalia. I'm dealing with folks in Somalia. There are particular issues that are facing the people that live within these regions that you have to find a way to contextualize the things that are offered by permaculture. You have to figure out a way in which you can contextualize those solutions to address those problems. So part of that is really just being able to identify with the people that live in these places. So, having a sensitivity to whatever their religion might be, whatever their sort of cultural identity might be. You're not there to change them or to tell them or show them how backward they are or how backward you think they are, which there are instances where I've been to places where folks have told me that's been their experience with some people who've come to the region to try to do work. I mean I don't it's like it doesn't matter what you know if you can't relate to the people in the places where you go to work, then you might as well not be there, no matter what you know or what you think you know. So I think at the heart of the work, you really have to be able to connect yourself with the people and empathize with them and identify with their plight, and then out of that, um, that's really where you start to make the advances.
Hmm.
And there are a number of people who work within this field doing international work that I think have a sense of that, but I don't think there's enough of that. And I think this is one of the reasons why we haven't really seen the kind of proliferation uh, of of some of this work in places in other places globally. And we really and again, also speaking to the point about being able to attract resources that will also allow us to be able to pursue the work on a larger scale. It's also just having that ability to address the concerns or the sensibilities of those folks. So it's just a matter of being able to put ourselves in the shoes of other people, and then speak to the concerns and the sensibilities of whoever it is we're addressing.
That sounds like a great takeaway because that's supposed to be my final question. What should the viewers here take away for International Permaculture Day? That sounds like a pretty good one. Do you have like one succinct thing that you can offer as a takeaway?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things a phrase I often like to use is sort of a time honored Bay Area phrase, and it's they say get in where you fit in, and it's just a matter of being able to identify what is it about you and what you have to offer in advancing the agenda. Um, how can you best bring that to the table? Because not all of us are going to bring the same skill set, or the same talents, to to the table. So it's just a matter of utilizing whatever it is that you do best and whatever you're most interested in, and just putting that to work. But I think it's always keeping in mind that we're trying to engage the problems of the age. We're not trying to escape, because I think sometimes this can become a type of escapism. The idea I think is really we're trying to effectively impact and change those things about what we see in the broader society. We're trying to find ways in which we can change those things by empowering the people that we're encountering, by empowering the folks that we say we want to help. And I think as long as we have that in the forefront of our minds, then I think we'll see the work spread, and we'll see more success, and hopefully more opportunity make itself available to us.
Awesome, Rhamis. All right, thanks very much to all our viewers out there. Check out permacultureday.info to get more of an idea of what's going on out there in terms of International Permaculture Day.